Hi, I'm John Hinchliffe, and today I'm going to show you my collection of World War II rifles. It will be a brief look because I'm fairly ignorant. Well, as you can see, possibly I have them in height order for neatness, but I'll talk about them in terms of country. Okay, we'll start with the shortest rifle. This is a Mark V Enfield Jungle Carbine, believed to be made by BSA in Shirley because all it says is FMP England on here. It's all been heavily painted with black paint, which I haven't removed. It's got the cut down bolt for weight. It's got the decent sight. It's got, well, I've got the bayonet. It's a fake, but there we are. Let's get that off. And it's got the flash hider. These are nice fakes, made in India. Anyway, that's the Jungle Carbine. Obviously 303. Butt pad is rubber. Now, apparently people say these were designed to reduce the recoil because being very light, it's quite a painful gun to shoot. They're all hard as nails and they don't actually reduce the recoil much. And other people I've spoke to have actually said the reason they did this is because in the jungles, the brass was kind of slippery and slipped down your shoulder, whereas this apparently didn't. Sounds peculiar, but who knows. Anyway, that's that bad boy. Okay, next my collection is this Italian Kokano. It's a very interesting rifle. It's nice and short. Apparently it's the gun that shot Kennedy, though not this one obviously. There we are, it's a very handy little rifle. Very inexpensive. It takes these rather weird bullets in these weird clips that go in there. And there we are. Pretty interesting, and it's kind of a weird way of working, but that's the way it goes. Reasons. Dare I say the gun was dropped in the sand once and never fired. Okay. Next in order of shortness is the French Mass 1936, model 1936. It's actually a really good gun. My one, unfortunately, was converted from the French 7.5 to 7.62 NATO. But other than that, it's pretty cool. And it has this interesting feature. Which you've got this little thing here. We have like a little bayonet that plops on there as a spiked bayonet. Pretty mean thing. Anyway, over a million of these were made, and they used them in Indochina and places like that when they were fighting the Viet Cong. I think they were called the Viet Minh then. Anyway, it's got this weird boat handle, which is kind of weird, but it functions very well. Anyway, that's the Mass 36. Ooh. Next one is a German K98 Mauser. There we are. It's a pretty neat gun. Very common action. The Mauser. So many guns have this. I used to have one in Britain that had been sporterised. Allegedly, this one is Israeli. No idea how they come to that conclusion, but it's got very few markings. But there were loads of these made, and I do have a repro bayonet for it. There we are. A very common German gun of World War II. Yugoslavians made them for a long time. I find it amusing that the Israelis used them, really, because in their warfare kind of have their own country. I think, yeah, good guys. Okay, thank you. Bye. Ooh. Now this is the beast of the collection. I've kind of mucked it about a bit because I've put a scope on it and it's obviously not an original scope and everything. But this is the Garand, the famous American self-loading rifle of World War II. Got this from the civilian marksmanship program. It's been refinished. It's quite nice. Obviously it's in the 30-06 caliber. It's self-loading. It has this weird action that does this. And it has these weird on-block clips where you get 8 rounds stuck together in a block, and there's a famous thing about the clip flying out and making a noise that someone will hear to know you're unloaded, which on a battlefield is absurd. If anyone's ever been anywhere near any guns actually firing, the idea you could hear a clip bounce on the ground is absurd. Anyway, there we are. That's that bad boy. Very nice. I do like this gun. Thank you. The scopes are side mounted because the top has to be left unobstructed for the clips to go in and out. So this is actually how they did mount sights on this, and this is obviously a modern sight. And it's actually remarkably accurate, I'm surprised. So next in order of heightness, I have a Japanese rifle. This is the Japanese Arasaka, what model this is. It's quite a late war one. The interesting thing about this, I'll push that down. The interesting thing about this, for me, is this very weird sight. And they had this weird sight, I don't know if you can see that bad boy, but it had these weird sticky out bits, and obviously went up and down, but allegedly this was so they could judge the right distance to fire in front of airplanes, because obviously they had a bit of a problem at the end of the war because all the people either flew into ships or were shot down, so they're a bit concerned about American air power coming over and dropping bombs on them from a great height, which they could do very little about, which ultimately they surrendered because of. Anyway, that's the Japanese Arasaka. Very nice. Next we have the British Enfield number 4 Mark 1 late war 303 rifle. Should be very well known to people. Has a floating barrel. The barrel isn't connected to the wood. The wood obviously is necessary on a military rifle because they get fired a lot and they get too hot. So when they sporterise them, they cut the wood off because the rifle doesn't get hot when you're shooting the odd deer. Anyway, it's got the kind of nicer sights. It's got the full sight plane. It's got a non-scalpelized bolt, and there we are. Very standard, but very nice. Everybody's parents had one of these bad boys. Yep. This gun probably shouldn't really have this in the World War II collection, because this is actually a Mark III, a number 1 Mark III, that's been converted to, or been built as 7.62. I think the Indians have these. I think we had them a little bit before we got the SLR and everything, but that was to go to NATO standard. It's an older rifle, like a World War I type. But I think they kept making them. Someone will call me and tell me, which would be fine because I'm always there to learn. But I'm not a nuts and bolts guy. Anyway, 7.62. Have a bayonet for it. We're getting there, we're getting there. This is the famous Russian, mostly in the Gant, quite a long rifle. Loads of these. These are very cheap because I think the Russians sold their stock quite recently to the West. Sniper at the gates, all that kind of stuff. Millions of these made. They're pretty crude, but they're very, very effective. Now this is another Mark 1 number 3. This is kind of rather interesting. This is what got me started collecting rifles. It's got this really weird grenade cup on the front, which I've attached. Doesn't have to be there. But this was for firing grenades. Had a little thing there to change the range, a little bit more air in. It clipped on the front, and the weird thing is they had to do this weird banding because they found that it was breaking the rifle, and this extra bit of wire here made it stronger, so when they whacked it in the ground and fired the rifle grenades, it didn't break. Anyway, it's a 303. There we are. Mark 1 number 3. And let's try to show you the bayonet for this bad boy, because World War I they were a bit more concerned about horses, and because they were worried about horses and cavalry, they had longer rifles and longer bayonets, and that's the bayonet for that. Obviously a lot longer than it needs to stab a person, but the idea was to reach out to get horses when the cavalry arrived, which obviously didn't happen. There we are. And lastly, although I said rifles, I've got this bad boy. This is another nationality. I don't know what it is. Well, this is actually Finnish, and it's actually a 9mm. Obviously, to make this legal, they've actually stuck a longer barrel on it because there's a weird law in this country about short-barreled rifles. So you have to pay extra taxes to have a short-barreled rifle. So what they did, they basically made this semi-auto so it counts as a rifle, and put a barrel extension on so that it actually is okay to shoot. But this is the Suomi, as I said. Apparently it was carried by the famous sniper, which you don't think snipers using submachine guns. Simon Hey Ho, or his name was. He's very famous, look him up. and apparently he shot like about 600 Russians during the Winter War, which is pretty awful, really, all those dead people, but I suppose they had it coming, invading his country. Anyway, he meant to have shot dozens with this 9mm semi-automatic, oh sorry, fully automatic submachine gun, and that is the end of my World War II rifle collection for you guys. Anyway, this is the man from the Clapham Omnos, John Hinchliffe, signing off. Bye there, enjoy the day.